perfect storm is coming for Montreal as the trade deadline approaches day by day. Montreal is in a prime position to make lots of moves going forward for the team with all the draft capital and expiring contracts they have, but not just for this season. The outlook for the offseason in terms of trade and drafting and a lot of prospects is just getting better and better, including Ivan Demidov, who once again today shows why he is the best prospect not in the NHL right now with this unbelievably sick backhand goal. Jesse, there's a lot of prospect talk, including Demidov, including a look at the AHL roster, including looking at a guy like Oliver Kapanen. All of this trade talk and more coming up on this live episode of Habs Digest. Welcome in back to the Monday live streams. It's been a while, Jesse. It feels good to be back. Finally back. Mondays were available. How you feeling on this fine Monday evening?
Oh, feeling so good, but even better when we see the chat popping off.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we got old friends, we got new friends. You know, obviously something special's brewing in Montreal right now, and we're all really excited about it. But obviously, it's like, you know, Kent Hughes, you know, for sure there was some good draft picks before from Bergevin, but like, we just got gifts that just keep on giving right now. That is not only making this team looking good right now as we're kind of getting, you know, a little bit more competitive ahead of schedule, but also like what's in that pipeline and kind of how that's going to fill out into this lineup coming up. I mean, you know, looking forward to breaking all this down with you, brother.
Oh yeah, man, it's gonna be a crazy day. We got a lot of people in the chat already. Of course, we had people here early. Let's scroll back through. We got so many people in here. We got Patrick Pelletier. We got Abraham Marshall, longtime viewer. We got Canadian Dude in Oz, formerly known as Super Goujon. Welcome in, channel member, of course. A lot of other familiar names. Simon Desjardins, Hall of Fame member. Simon, always amazing to see you in the streams. John Poirier, aka the Cabbage Man, is here. Planko, ahoy. So many people in chat. We got a poll up right now, so if you're just joining the stream, the first thing I want you to go do is leave. So which way is it? That way. It's up there in the poll. Go leave your thoughts on how many points you think Demidov will get in his rookie NHL season. We'll be talking about him a little bit later, but Jesse, first I want to talk about some prospects that are doing pretty good things right now, but a lot of them overseas. We'll get to Laval in a second, but the guy I want to start with today is Oliver Kapanen. Now, this is a screenshot of the top players in the SHL, which is where Kapanen's playing, in terms of point per game. Because we can't go by total points, because Kapanen missed a bunch of games because he was playing with Montreal. So, we got the points per game here, Jesse. Kapanen is 12th in the entire SHL. If you look at the ages of the players here, I think we've talked about this before, but every player above him is in their age 26, or well, at least 24. Filip Hollander is the next youngest player. Hollander's 24, Victor Loden is 25, and then it's everyone else is 26 plus. Kapanen, this is his age 21 season, and he's got 16 points in 17 games. As we're going to get through some of these other players, we're going to talk about Montreal's future down the middle in terms of their centers, but we just got to continue to give this guy the credit where it's due, because he is honestly, like, we expected big things when we sent him back to Sweden after his time was done in Montreal this year, but I don't think we could have anticipated how good he's been, especially offensively.
So good and so clutch, getting those game-tying, those game-winning goals and everything else. And we're going to see a certain trend on the stream today, and it's like, this isn't the only Habs prospect that's playing lights out over his head right now in comparison, you know, being the youngest and just playing the best in their league in that preparation of coming to the NHL. It's just an amazing theme right now that, like, our prospects, so much younger than, you know, are being some of the best players in their respective leagues as they're looking to crack the NHL. So, I mean, this is absolutely what you want to see from a development standpoint. Kapanen basically being like a point per game guy right now, basically doing it all, just absolutely phenomenal, right? And like, we know that there's a lot of NHL ready skills. It's all about just almost just growing and just maturing. And you know, you got a good prospect when it's like, yeah, he's good. He just needs to age a little bit. He just needs to kind of thicken up, you know, get a little bit more weight. And this guy's going to be good to go. So obviously he's just cooking over in Sweden right now.
For sure. Now, a lot of people did point out, like, yes, he did get injured. It looked worse than it actually was. But the reason we're talking about him so positively is because he's supposed to play again this week. He had a head injury that was taken out for precautionary reasons. They were worried he had a concussion. But by all accounts, he's fine and he'll be back playing. He's only going to miss a game or two. So it's all real good. So don't worry on the Kapanen front. It's Jesse. We get our first super chat of the stream from Planko. €2 coming in from Planko, our most loyal Slovakian fans. Shout out to Martin St. Louis for those starting players in overtime. I've really liked, well, maybe we can talk about that right now. I've really liked the overtime deployment. And shootout, you know, I don't like the shootout. I think we got some other people, including Alex. I don't know if you're watching, Alex, but there's a lot of people who really don't like the shootout. But Right now, Jesse, I think the Habs overtime, even though we didn't get a shot against Dallas, it's been really electric, and I think Montreal's been able to thrive in the way they love to play. And I don't love getting a bunch of overtime games. It raises that blood pressure, but hey, when it's against other really good teams, you take what you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Montreal, we having some solid strategy. I mean, we did almost win that overtime. Like we didn't get a shot on that, but we rang it off the post there, right? So we're having some players like the reason why Nick Suzuki, I'm happy we're kind of talking about this. Like, why is he getting so much success in overtime? And really, we can break that down to him just being so good defensively and then offensively. So this is what really gives him a chance to shine. Is that on the average, if we're looking at, how good he is defensively and offensively, for me, Nick Suzuki is right near the top of the NHL. So when we're talking about that overtime with just so much open space, being good defensively, but also being able to make the team pay once you really have the biscuit is, something that Nick Suzuki is really, specializing in right now. It's kind of becoming his bread and butter. We knew how good he was even, in the shootouts and everything, but even, 3-on-3 in overtime. I mean, this guy is just lights out right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's tied for the league lead in overtime goals, or at least he was. I don't know if that's changed since last time, but he was tied with Draisaitl for 4. And I think the record all time in the NHL is 5 in a season for one player. So, it's not crazy to say Suzuki could break the record for most overtime game winners in a season, as opposed to, I guess, an overtime non-game winner. That doesn't make sense. Overtime goals, that's all you need to say. But yeah, really, really good stuff there. We got some more channel members. We got Francis Day, really love the way we play. He knows how to make it count. We got a lot of amazing people in the chat here now. Channel members, I want you to send all your emojis there. You guys love those emojis. Show them off to a lot of the other people in the chat, the great stuff you got. The Lane Hudson, the Patrick Laine, all this stuff. I'll send all the ones we got here just because I really like them. I think they're really fun. But Jesse, we talked a bit about Oliver Kapanen. I want to move on to some other guys right now, and we'll hop right into the NCAA where we want to talk a bit about Michael Hage. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys. You might have to zoom, might have to up the quality to see, but this is the top 16, really the top 15, because Hage is tied with Carter King for 15th place in NCAA scoring. But I just wanted to point this out because we all know Michael Hage is doing some phenomenal things. Now, he's not right at the number 1 spot in terms of points per game or anything, but he's right there, right around the top 10. But in terms of total points, he's tied for 15th in the entire NCAA. I want you to notice that every single player ahead of him on this list, Jesse, has played more games. And every single player on this list above him is older. The only other guy that's a teenager at the start of this college season is Matthew Wood, who was also a fairly highly touted prospect, I believe. But look, Michael Hage, he was 18 coming into this season. Clearly the youngest player on this entire list. He's unbelievable. He's number 1 in freshman scoring. He's got 24 points, outdoing a guy like James Higgins, who's probably going to go number 1 or number 2 in this upcoming draft. We talk about depth down the middle. And Jesse, before we get into that, I just want to shout out the fact that Simon Desjardins coming in hot. Simon, as always, being so incredibly generous, gifting 5 channel memberships. And if I read out your name, you have been gifted a channel membership from Simon. Please thank Simon in the chat if this is you. We got Michelle, we got RPM, we got Kingsley Justine, we got Mystic Prodigy, another longtime viewer, and we got Joe Paco. All of you can now send those emojis, everything to. Thank you, Simon, and Jesse. Thank you also to Michael Hage, who has been having a dominant hockey season right now.
Absolutely. And when we look at Hage, obviously he's more of an offensive guy. His point production has been through the roof. Again, like Kapanen, respective to his peers, is just playing so well right now. But when I think of a Michael Hage, I think of a Cole Caufield, somebody who also played the NCAA, touted as more of an offensive guy. Obviously Caufield was drafted 13th. There's not a huge difference of where they were drafted, maybe a little bit, but within the same ballpark, right? But the big thing is Cole came in as just this offensive guy, and that's the biggest knock against Hage right now is, okay, maybe the defensive game and not supporting his D-man as much, but it's just as we're able to turn Cole Caufield into a complete hockey player, I think that even if we're able to do that with Cole Caufield, we're able to do that with Michael Hage, who's got a little bit more size. I think it's going to be a big testament to our development team to really show that we want those players, really those complete players. But for a team like Montreal, who of the last couple of years, not so much of an issue this year, but struggled with goal scoring and different things, Josh, I'm okay having those more offensive guys like Hage kind of coming in. We'll kind of show them that defensive game as they're part of the system when they're here. I don't think that Hage, I don't even know if he's going to spend time with Laval. I think he'll probably spend another year in the NCAA next year, and then he's going to be ready to make the team right out of camp the way that this guy is so good. So I'm going to look for the Habs to do something similar to Cole Caufield to really shape this guy into a complete amazing player that we know that he can be.
Oh, see, I love that. And this is going to play very well into what we're talking about in a few minutes minutes going down the centers in the Habs roster, because honestly, like, I absolutely see a pathway for that. And, you know, whether it's even at center or the wing, I'd like for it to be at center. But again, like, as a lot of young guys might start on the wing, right? There's a lot of different development paths, but I think you're right. The talent level right now, like, I mean, what better way to evaluate prospects other than to their peers, right? Like, when you have a guy like Hage, you compare him to everyone else in college hockey. Well, he stands out for multiple reasons. You go to Oliver Kapanen, he stands out in the SHL among guys his age. Like, these guys are standouts among their peers. They're both the youngest players at the highest points per game in their each respective leagues, right? And look, this video isn't even really going to touch on Jacob Fowler too much, but Jesse, he also only let in 1 goal in his last game. There's another college guy who is putting up otherworldly stats, and I actually saw someone ask about Sam Harris in the chat as well. You know, Sam Harris is not having the season that we thought he might be on pace for, though he does have 13 goals so far this season. I think it's about 13 goals in 19 games. Let me check. 13 goals, 19 points in 21 games. So all of last season in double the amount of games in 42 games, Harris only had 14 goals. So that's good. He's a little slower. He doesn't really project to be an impactful NHLer, but you never know, right? At the very least, I would say he's going to get some good run in the AHL, just like a guy like Sean Farrell did. But yeah, I think you're onto something, Jesse, here with Hage. I think there's a real world where Montreal gives him that type of Caufield treatment. You bring him in after the college season, maybe not this year, maybe next year, where maybe there'll be a spot that you can kind of naturally open up for him. But I mean, I don't know, right? Like, what is it going to look like next year after we have some guys even from the AHL coming up? And that's something else we got to talk about, because right now we got a guy like named Owen Beck who has 8 goals, 24 points in 34 AHL games. But I think the numbers also don't even do it fully justice because of how mature he looks on the ice, how good he looks. And before I get deeper into that, Jesse, we do have another super chat that I want to get to from Derek Rendell, another longtime hat-trick tier channel member, always in the base smart. Derek, thank you so much for being here. He says, thanks for the great work, fellas. Always enjoy your shows. 1, Habs are a tough team again. 2, Marty allowing creativity. 3, youth prospects and more youth. We are tough. We're being physical again, Jesse. There's a lot of creativity, but I think he's got a real good point with his youth. Thanks again, Derek, for the $5.
Absolutely. And it's a great point too on the toughness, because even going back to the Vancouver game where it was super physical, it's been a couple times now where they're ready to really ring the bell early.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any sort of something in front of the net, I've even liked that about Dach a little bit. We know there's been some undisciplined penalties, but I love it if a guy's kind of getting too close to your goalie in his kitchen there, where you gotta push him away. You gotta give some space. Those are some early signs kind of early on where you're kind of setting the tone. Like, is it okay for the other team to just come set up camp in front of your goalie? Or if they do that, are they going to have some business? I say you're going to have a lot of trouble if you're just letting people come in front of your goalie, kind of make their presence felt. It's a lot of the mental parts of the game, but I've seen a lot of guys from this team, obviously Guhle being a big part of this again, that are really ringing the bell. Like, when it's time to play physically, they're doing that, and you're not winning in the NHL unless you're showing that you're not scared, that you're going to look your opposition in the eye when it's that time to play that type of way and really not back down. So for a young team right now, they're showing a lot of character by playing that way.
I agree. And you know what? That when Dobeš was getting run time after time in that game, like, that's another thing too. They were standing up for him. And I hate to say it, but in years past, that hasn't always been the case. There have been a number of times where we've been like, why is no one talking to them? But now this year, this team got a fire and energy under them. I mean, I know it's always kind of been there, but it's been really, really, really amazing. But yeah, absolutely right. Great point, Derek. Thank you again for the $5. Really, really appreciate it. But this is incredible. I see more people talking about Kapanen. Unless there's an injury update I didn't see, he will be playing this week. So hoping. We also haven't even talked about Reinbacher, but he's been hurt, so there's not much to talk about on that front. But AHL, before we get into the forwards, because there's 2 guys, Jesse, I know, actually 3 guys, I don't know, there's a lot of guys we can talk about, but I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Kaden Primeau, who got another shutout. The dude has been incredible since going to Laval, and we knew Kaden Primeau could be a good AHL goalie, but this dude has taken his reassignment in stride, and he's keeping them in the games. There's a reason Laval is still top 5 in the AHL right now, and Kaden Primeau has been look, he's been absolutely rolling, and I honestly don't even mind right now keeping him there in Laval for as long as you need him there, because if he's dominating there, that's nothing but good for the future of this organization as a whole.
Love seeing that. And don't rule Kaden Primeau out as a goalie in the NHL. Maybe not in Montreal anymore with Dobeš, but if he keeps playing this way, he's going to get a spot somewhere in the NHL. Look at his numbers right now, folks. Going to run through this really quick. 0.977 save percentage. Two game sample size, but still 0.50 goals against, averaging a half a goal against per game right now. Like Kaden Primeau has really stepped up to the plate. It's not a, easy position mentally where like this guy's been in the NHL now for like about a year and a half. It's not like he's just kind of been going up and down. Like this guy started getting comfortable in the NHL. He thought, they were making room for him with Jake Allen. Like he was expecting to maybe be here for the longer haul. So then to get sent down to the AHL, that's a shock to your system. But to really perform that well, it says a lot about his character. He's kind of had to battle through adversity. Can he do it one more time? If he continues putting up numbers like this, he will get an opportunity somewhere again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just taking a look at like his career numbers for shutouts. It's kind of crazy. Like, dude had 4 in his rookie AHL season. Then he added us to 6. That's 8. That's 11. This is his 12th career shutout in the AHL. And like, what? Out of those games, 66, 82 plus 41, 123, 125 games. He's got that many shutouts. That's actually really crazy. So, look, just wanted to give him a shout out because I know that a lot of people aren't on the Kaden Primeau bandwagon, I guess, from Montreal. Dobes is doing great, but hey, this seems to be best of both worlds, right? Dobes doing great in Montreal, Primeau doing great down there. Yeah. Really happy. But I know, Jesse, there's a few players we want to talk about here. We kind of mentioned Owen Beck, and we'll get to him again when we talk about the centers. But a couple of names that have stood out so far this season. Joshua Roy. I know you're a big Joshua Roy guy. I am too. 27 points in 31 games. And that's despite often hearing, Roy didn't have a great game, or he only had 1 point here. I feel like I hear more negative things about Roy than I do a lot of other players, yet he's still got 27 points in 31 games. I mean, we'll get into Davidson in a bit, but I mean, Roy's point production cannot be ignored. This guy is definitely right there at the top of the list of players that could be called up.
And the standards are high because he's shown that he can be a dangerous player at the NHL level. It's just about really securing that over the long term consistently. But I mean, what I love from Joshua Roy, 27 points, 31 games, like he's a near point per game player in the AHL. Nothing to scoff at whatsoever. But what I like when we break down these numbers further, 14 goals, 13 assists. Mm-hmm. This guy's showing that he's a goal scorer, that he can kind of, he doesn't need to be that setup man, but this guy can really finish it off. And when we're looking at Montreal, we got a lot of playmakers. So like those finishers are very, very welcome when we're looking for this team in the future to kind of complement what we have. He is going to get his time in Montreal, and he is playing very well in the AHL right now. I am so happy to see this. It's sometimes he's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. We haven't been covering him every other day with the Joshua Roy highlights, but he's been putting up some really good numbers, which he really needs to do. And if he continues this production, I definitely see him securing a job with Montreal next year.
Yeah, we talked about a guy like Emil Heineman who had great production down in the AHL, and he beat out Joshua Roy for a spot this year. I mean, which is something that I think not a whole lot of people might have predicted, but Heineman, by the way, he's due for a contract this offseason. It's not going to be a big contract. I'm expecting something like maybe 1 or 2 years, 1.5 to 2 million, probably something like that. That's usually what guys like him get. Anyway, but that's not the topic of this video, but was producing very well. And so, he's had a bit of a chance in the NHL, and he's shown that in certain scenarios, he's really been able to put it together and look like a competent player. This year, when he's kind of been down in that bottom 6, like not really playing with other talented players, he hasn't been able to really get it going at the NHL level, but who knows what the future holds, because if he can continue to be a good finisher and be like a, 0.4 goal per game guy in the AHL, which he's above that right now, look, those numbers may just well translate to the NHL, but he's been great. But the other story, Jesse, Jared Davidson, this dude's coming off another 3-point game, 13 goals in 31 games, just 1 goal behind Joshua Roy for the team lead. That's right. 1 goal behind Roy for the team lead, 22 points. Look, he's a kind of guy that we like. We've talked about him a bit. Again, we always talk about the Memorial Cup championship with the Seattle Thunderbirds. But every single time we talk about him, Jesse, it feels like he's gotten better. I feel like we talked about him 2 or 3 times this year, and every time we're like, he can't keep doing this, can he? But yeah, he can. Again, I'm not saying he's above a guy like Beck or Roy in terms of call-ups, but to have this kind of depth in your AHL system, in case something horrible happens, to the team and a bunch of guys get hurt again, it's unbelievable to have this kind of depth of offense, not to mention some of the vets there like Barré Boulet and Laurent Dauphin who are really chipping in as well.
Absolutely. He's just being a really consistent player. One of the many reasons why I'm looking forward to seeing the Laval Rocket so much in the playoffs this upcoming year. And if he continues to play this way, he's going to get his shot with Montreal eventually. It won't be right away, but it's definitely going to come because this guy's producing solid points. Again, 22 points in 31 games. And again, being a little bit more of that finisher as well, 13 goals with the 9 assists there. So nice to see that we're having those finishers. We know Owen Beck's a little bit more kind of like a setup guy. a lot of the time, obviously in the NHL, we got those as well. So nice to see those people that can really put the puck at the back of the net. And all he's doing is really just stepping up his game every single night.
Yeah, really happy with that. A lot of great players here. Oh, Jesse, by the way, we just wanted to give a shout out to Adam Engstrom. We've been pretty big proponents of Adam Engstrom. One thing I don't think we predicted, Jesse, I know he's played in 4 more games, but I don't think, he still has 2 more points than Logan Mailloux. Mailloux was off to a hot start. Mailloux had 9 points in his first 4 games. Since then, Mailloux has 7 points in his last 25. I'm not saying it's over for Mailloux or anything. What I am saying, this is not a knock on Mailloux. It's an incredible thing for Adam Engstrom. Any comments on him before we move on to the next thing? He also is a +10 on the team. Only 18 penalty minutes. I don't know. He's getting some power play reps. He even has a power play goal this year. I just love what I'm seeing from him. I think he is one of the most slept on prospects, not only in the Habs organization, but I feel like, I don't know if I want to say in the league, because every team has a guy like this, I'm sure, but I don't know. Everything from him screams future, second or third pairing defenseman to me.
For sure. And a little bit better than what most teams have, on average, because this guy is looking absolutely silky smooth right now. And he is looking like he's going to get a shot in the NHL as well. Again, kind of being a little bit of a dark horse. He wasn't on everybody's radars, but we saw how good he looked at camp, and he's just continuing it. With Mailloux's numbers, we could say that maybe he's looking to focus a little bit more on his defensive game, which, to be honest, I would be really happy with. I'm okay with him kind of because we know what the NHL level, I think he's going to be able to get his points, but it's really about, okay, let's work on what you need to do to be effective at the NHL level. So I think he's really focusing on that. And just as a little side note, I think that's going to be great for Mailloux's future.
Yeah, I agree too. And that's by all accounts, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, from what I'm reading, and it seems like that is something he's working on. So hoping that that's where this drop in offensive production is coming from. But hey, who knows, right? Who knows where the future lies? I want to get back to the checks. We got a lot of people coming in the chat. We got people wanting to talk about trade deadline. We'll get that into a second. People talking about asset management. Derek saying, I will not be surprised to see Davidson make the Habs in a year or two. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? There's so many guys that could. Now, I don't want to put all our eggs, I don't want to say all our eggs in one basket. It's not really what I want to say, but I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves either by overhyping a guy. But again, it's just these trends, right? The culture is there, and these guys are succeeding in the environment where you want them to succeed. They're not falling behind. A lot of these guys are overperforming expectations, which is absolutely incredible. We got Luke in here, another channel member saying, hey, everyone, got to scroll back. There's a lot of channel members in this chat here. Pierre McGuire stated that his AHL coach buddies would love to see the Habs call up Beck, as he is a menace to play against. I absolutely believe that. Mark Orr is in chat saying, hello to all you Habs fans. Go Habs, go. Go Habs, go. Good to see you here, Mark, one of our Rocket Richard tier members. We'll get another call scheduled for all our Rocket Richard and Hall of Fame members soon. It's been a while since we chatted with him, Jesse. It was before Christmas, so we got to get that going again. We got RPM, newly gifted channel member. He will make it Primeau as a backup once he's out of the Montreal pressure. Very possible as well. By the way, guys, again, if you're a channel member or if you donate, we will read your message in priority. It gets tough to keep track of everything at some point. So anyway, just wanted to let you guys know that. But we're talking about trade deadline. We'll get to that in just a second. I want to just look at this because there's been a lot of talk recently about the Habs' future down the middle. Because you got Suzuki, but that's kind of like long term. Yet at least until Evans is extended, Jesse. Right now, Suzuki is the only guy that we can absolutely pencil in as a definite center on this Habs team 2 years from now, right? Because we don't know if Dach or Newhook will be long-term centers at the end of the day. I think Dach is looking more like it and is looking more like Newhook's going to be a winger, for sure. Newhook, by the way, got knocked out with the same flu that Patrick Laine had, it seems. Didn't practice today, so we'll see what happens there. But Dvorak's going to be gone after this year. Evans could get extended, but then you have these guys like Kapanen, like Beck, and even like a Demidov we'll be talking about soon. I don't know, I feel like some people are saying the Habs almost have too many centers and that they'll be competing for spots against each other. But Jesse, when I look at this, I think about the guys that could be coming up, I do see a flexible roster, and I think center spots are pretty much wide open, which I think is the best case scenario.
Definitely. Obviously, a big part of this is riding on the Evans extension. It's looking like, he'll be a part of the Habs' future. It's still yet to be determined. Dach as well, though, right? It's looking like maybe he can become that 2C, but that's still very much to be determined, and that's going to be a key position to figure out. But, let's say we're going to next year. Demidov is now in the lineup. Let's say, okay, obviously that's going to shift Newhook to that third line there. And the question is will it be Kapanen or Beck with Newhook on that third line? Because I could very much see a combination of either a Beck or a Kapanen actually centering that third line where Nui, he's able to take his strong side centers, strong side faceoffs, there. But I could almost see a world where Beck is becoming that 3C, and then Nui's on the wing, but then he's coming to play on certain faceoffs because, Newhook does have that one advantage of being different than all of our other centers in terms of his strong side from where he shoots from. So really what Beck provides at that center position, another strong argument to have him as the 3C is like, he's so good at faceoffs. Often like center guys, as we said earlier, when they come into the league, that they can kind of start off as a winger and different things. Beck, he is so good at the center and his whole defensive game as a result of playing this. And now he's able to affect everything else. This is a guy you're going to want to put at a center position just right away. Now this is a bold claim saying that Owen Beck's going to come in and take that 3C spot over Newhook. He might need to kind of battle. Newhook might get that opportunity, but I don't think it's too long before Beck is really going to get that chance. Having two centers on that line, for sure we have lots of new organization and we look at our depth in Laval, but like when some injuries are happening, I think, having a line where you have like kind of those two centers where if an injury happens, they can kind of slot up and down the lineup just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And having the flexibility, like Sly Rider, another longtime channel member, good to see a Sly Rider, says you can never have enough center. Like, you just can't, right? You can push guys to the wing if you want. You can have two centers on the same line. That Monahan and Dach line, when we had it, right, that was perfect because they could take faceoffs on their strong sides. Something like a Beck Newhook could do something similar, right? And I don't know. I think Beck is, I think you're on point that he could very well just be a center right from the get-go because he's about as natural a center as it gets. Like, this dude understands the 200-foot game as a center. He's good on the dot. He's good defensively. People hate playing against him. He knows how to cover. Like, there's not going to be any issues with him there, right? You usually get more issues trying to shoehorn a winger into a center spot than you do a center into a winger spot. So can't have too many. As for Evans, I saw a message there from Planko saying, is it true that Evans said he would take less money just to stay with the Habs? And then RPM saying Hage will be our future number 2. Again, don't want to get too ahead of myself. I will say Hage looks really good. I don't know if it's a fact that Evans said that, but what we did hear is that the two sides definitely want to get a deal done. Now, whatever that means, it means. I'm sure Evans is going to want his fair share of money, whatever he is, worth. But at the same time, hoping that means he'll take a little bit less. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, is there a world where we just run a roster, like, we almost have the anti-Habs and we have a roster with a bunch of guys who are, like, natural centers, but we force to play the wing? Like, do you even foresee a lineup, Jesse, where we do run, say, for example, Dach, Newhook, Demidov, who could or could not play center, I don't know, Kapanen and Beck all together? Like, you end up running a roster that has 6 capable centers on it? Because I like, you're starting to push it then because I also want to maximize guys' skill sets. Like, if they're going to be best at center and that's best for their development, I want to give them time at center. And then I don't know if that's better in the AHL as a center or the NHL as a winger. You get into that dilemma, but like, it's maybe getting a bit much. Maybe you trade for someone at that point, but like, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking it's not that crazy if the Habs have space for it.
And that's what's so nice about what's happening with the Montreal Canadiens, because like, I didn't expect Oliver Kapanen to be as good. Like, I was a big fan of Owen Beck, but like, you're looking going to the competition going next year, Kapanen having played some games with the Montreal, he's ahead of Owen Beck on the depth chart. Like, there's a very high chance where he's playing above him to kind of start off. And obviously it's like you said, the key point in all this is like, a center just naturally has more value than a winger. And you want to, because of that, you want to maximize kind of that potential. But again, it's just, such a blessing to be having so many prospects kind of popping off where now you're having to have these conversations where maybe you try and figure out something on the wing. But if all these players, let's say a Beck and a Kapanen, are both playing really well and there's not a spot for both of them to play center, there's only so long before something's going to come, those hyenas around the league, right? Where they're going to know, okay, you're going to need to trade something. They're going to try and kind of lowball you and everything else like that to try and get a steal from you. But obviously that's a benefit of like, the center position is a crucial one for the Montreal Canadiens, and it's been a point of weakness for the Habs for a long period of time. So the fact that we're able to shore this up, there's rumors that Demidov, if we're looking at his highlights, the way that he supports his winger, this guy could be a centerman. I don't want to jump to that, but I think that Martin St. Louis would be remiss if he didn't get a chance. Look at this floor check.
We'll watch it more.
Wreaking havoc all over the ice right now. So we're getting some options here. But again, just like with defensemen, sometimes we think, oh, we have kind of too many until an injury comes or a player doesn't really pan out like Barron does. And then, then you maybe do something where you trade a player more for a role that you kind of need. So again, this is all benefits for the Montreal Canadiens. If they just have too much centers, they might be able to sell high on one of their prospects, get a really big return for something a little bit more immediate. But Kent is going to be really quick, going to need to be very quick in addressing these situations to not really get behind the eight ball with his center positioning.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do. And especially with the amount of assets Montreal has, like trading a guy, like, there's a world where you trade some guys that we're really highly valuing today. I don't know which ones we're going to end up talking about, but like you look at the list of guys that we're saying have high value, Jesse. We got Engstrom, we got Kapanen, we got Beck, we got we got maybe Davidson. He's maybe on the outside. We got Hage, we got Fowler, we got Demidov, we got like Mayu. Like, there's a lot of guys that are probably not going to be long-term Habs. Like a lot of these guys might just get moved or they might just never make the team. And that's scary to think about, right? But I think that's actually a really good transition to look into exactly what Kent Hughes is going to be looking up to next. But before we get into that, I want to look at the chats again, because my gosh, you guys are going crazy in the chats. And again, I'm sorry if I can't get to a lot of them. Again, we just got to respond to the ones in priority order. I'm so sorry to all of you I can't get to. We try. But Derek's saying Heineman, Beck, Anderson could be an interesting line. That would be one of the worst lines to play against. Like, oh my gosh, Heineman and Anderson bearing down on you with Beck just like being that defensive stalwart. That'd be amazing. I love that. Yeah, a lot of speed too. RPM saying less worrying about the first guy getting kicked out of the face-off circle. Hey, that's exactly right. That was kind of the whole point with that Monahan and Dach line. Blanco saying the Panthers have 8 centers in a lineup right now. Again, it's possible. RPM saying what a change from the days of our number one center was David Desharnais. Yeah, that's for sure. Derek finally saying I don't think that's the case anymore with Kapanen greater than Beck. Hey, who knows, right? Like, we don't know. Kapanen is doing great in the pro league, so is Beck. It's going to come down to training camp. There's still a lot left to be seen, right? Kapanen certainly didn't wow the world in his NHL time, and we haven't really seen Beck extended yet. Like, all the signs are there for both of them. Let's see how they put it together. I think it's going to be really interesting. But let's talk about the trade deadline now. There was an article. I just took this headline because I think it's a good indicator of what we want to talk about here. This is an article from Karine Haynes, but we're not going to dive into the article. Just the headline I thought was interesting. Don't expect Hughes to be a seller. And this kind of goes into a lot of the talks that Kent Hughes had with the media at his mid-season conference, Jesse. And I know we have a lot of stuff to talk about on that front. He even had some Demidov stuff. But we're going to bring up these quotes, right? Saying the more, that's a different one. That was him talking about Jeff Gorton, but he said, I think we're on the right track with players we have and the players we have coming. We don't want to be overconfident and do like other teams like the Sabres coming close to the playoffs and then faltering, and Detroit too, but they're getting better. We don't want to be overconfident. And then he finally said, if we were going to be making trades and get futures, we might push them back even further at this point. Whether we use those for a trade later, that's probably the most likely scenario, trading for futures. My answer is the same. We still have 22 games to see where we are before we're ready to make any decisions. And looking at this, Jesse, it's hard to tell for me because he's clearly talking about getting future draft picks. He's just talking about getting them for further down the line, which I really like. But is he saying that we might not sell? Like, there's certain guys you have to trade this year, no doubt about it. But, I definitely don't think, based on what I've heard from Hughes, based on what I've seen from the team, I don't think there's going to be anything close to a fire sale. I think you're going to listen to offers on a lot of your guys, but the only guy I can almost guarantee is gone is Savard. I'm not even sure a guy like Armia might get traded at this point. What are your thoughts? I want to hear the chat's thoughts too.
This is just going to motivate this very young Habs team, knowing that they're going to be rewarded for their very hard play this year, that the team isn't going to be selling off just left, right, and center. It's not going to be a fire sale. They're going to look and build on what they already have right now. Mm-hmm. Jeff Gorton, I mean, the Montreal Canadiens want results now. They want to start winning. We're shifting. We're adamant about it. No elevators were hurt during the making of this video. We want it, but this team wants to start competing right now. Absolutely. Because right now we're humming along. A lot of things are working well. And how much do you kind of want to play with that? I think a little bit of selling needs to be done, but they're not going to be going full tilt on that. Montreal Canadiens humming along at 86.6% penalty kill rate, success rate on the penalty kill, 10th in the league, right now on the PK, up from 24th last year. This is a big part of the Habs' success. So I bring this up to bring up, like, Savard's gone, but a guy like Armia, right, where for sure I thought that, and I still think he will be traded, but if the Montreal Canadiens continue to play really, really well, where there's no shadow of a doubt, let's say we're taking over Boston's, spoiler alert, spot in the division there, it's like, then you start to make some calls. Okay, Armia, how much should we value our penalty kill? going into the playoffs, everything, because obviously we know like a PK, there's less calls called in the playoffs. But having a strong penalty kill where you know that even if you do get some calls against you, there is like basically a 9 out of 10 chance that you're going to stop that power play. That means a lot, and it helps your chances of winning extremely. So this is going to be very important things for this team to figure out. It's still about that long-term vision. I just love how they're really balance things out with the present now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And those kind of things, like those things that win you playoff games, what I'm seeing right now is that's winning them games right now against legit contenders. That's the craziest thing, right? Like the games that they're winning are, a lot of them are like nail biters. They're going down to the wire. They're grindy games. A lot of them haven't had a crazy number of shots. Some of them have, like their last game against Dallas, where Dallas put up 35 shots, I think, or 36. But a lot of these games are grindy. They're physical. There's penalties, the puck going out of play. It's just one of these like gritty games, and that's not what Montreal's game has been. They thrive when they're playing fast, but they're still finding ways to do that. So you're very right. I think winning now is a big thing, and actually we got some super chats to get into, Jesse, and I think they really touch on this very well. Simon Deschardin, again, Simon, thank you so much for your generosity as always. Our deadline acquisitions will be to keep our guys. Very simple, but I think that's very much what you were saying too, Jesse. Like, if we can hold on to our guys and not sell them, that is incredible, right? Not downgrading necessarily, while also maybe sending off some guys that we still can. Whether Dvorak will actually fetch something, I don't know, but a guy like Savard could very well fetch something good at the deadline, and as we've seen, at least in a smaller sample size, it hopefully won't hurt the team too much. I know there's other factors like locker room factors and all this other stuff that Struble just can't fill, not at this point, but right now it looks like they might be okay without him, right? So keeping our guys I think is going to be great. And Mr. Niles, Jesse's going even further. He's saying, you know what, let's be buyers. Maybe not right now at the deadline, but let's look at maybe this offseason. I'm not sure. Guys, leave some love for these super chats as well. It's unbelievably generous that people are willing to send money to send this stuff. Mr. Niles saying, package Dach, Newhook, Mailloux, and picks for a legit top pair right-hand defenseman like Dobson. Interesting take. I don't know about Dach, Newhook, Mailloux, and picks for a guy like Dobson, but I think maybe that's on the right track, Jesse, in terms of finding like, this is the type of trade that will have to happen eventually, and it sucks to think that a lot of these guys that we've come to love as prospects, or even young, good players like a Dach or a Newhook, they might not be here in 2-3 years' time. But like, thinking about this, thinking about the amazing future Montreal has, and again, the draft capital that we have, look at how many picks we have. It's not crazy to think that one of these big blockbuster trades, whether it's for a guy like Dobson or someone completely different, like another superstar forward, could be on the horizon very soon. That's why I said this perfect storm's coming, Jesse. We got the prospects, we got the draft capital, and we got the young players to boot. So like, not only do we have a future built within, we have a lot of the assets to trade for something else as well.
And Ken Hughes is going to be rewarding all of our viewers' patience very shortly by starting to make a little bit more of those future type moves, because it's a thing where you don't want to wait till you're painted into a corner where you basically have to be doing those type of deals. You always kind of want to be a little bit ahead while your prospects are still kind of having that value there. But if we're looking at that, obviously Reinbacher shoot in at that one spot, right D there, but that's going to take a little bit of time. So definitely kind of maybe looking at some of the options there. It's like, obviously somebody like a Dobson isn't available all the time. At the same time, it's like we saw how one move on defense really helped this team just tremendously. I don't know, I don't think that Ken Hughes is going to give up on Dach right now. I think that he's showing everything for them to continue to kind of believe in him. I'm kind of hoping that he's just kind of shaking off that rust kind of finally from that injury. And in the second half of the season, we're going to see the full Kirby Dach. But in the second half of the season, it's going to be really important because they have some patience, but it's not like Kirby Dach has just a forever kind of runway with the Habs. It's it's going to be very important of how he shows up for the rest of this season here to kind of determine, is he going to be part of this team going forward, or do the Habs kind of want to maybe wait and, because obviously you don't want to wait till an asset's value is going down too much, but at the same time you want to give them that time. So it's a little bit of that balance. So I would say at the end of this season here, it's going to be really important for, the management to decide if Kirby Dach's going to be part of the future, or if they want to use him as a very important asset to get some of the pieces that they need.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions coming up on him, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes. He's finally starting to get his footing back a bit. I'm excited to see, again, a Dach that's finally bounced back with a healthy line kind of rolling for like a 15-20 game stretch to see what that looks like. Because right now we still don't know, right? And maybe that there's chemistry that we still have on tap. So very, very interesting. And Jesse, we got another big super chat here from Ethan Mods. Ethan, you've been super chatting a lot recently. Your generosity is unbelievable. Thank you so much, guys. Leave some love. Leave a like on that super chat. Respond to Ethan. Just say thank you, Ethan. That's all we want you to say. Just be generous to your fellow chatters. There's people like Ethan who are making this so worthwhile for us. Thank you again. For $20, he said, I think we will have to trade some guys eventually if we do re-sign Evans to a $3.5 or $4 million deal. Because at the end of the 2025-26 season, we have to re-sign Laine and Hudson. And I might be missing people also. There's that, and there's also the fact that Guhle's contract is going to kick in, right? That's an extra like $4.5 million upon what he's already making, something like that. But there's also going to be other young guys, like those are just the ones that we know right now, right? And if Hage comes over after next year, again, you'll have basically a full season of him before you can extend him. Hudson doesn't have to be signed yet, but he can be extended after this season. So, like, people are going to have to move out, Jesse. Like, we look at the team right now, and if I go back here, like, there's a lot of money here. And it kind of worries me to say this a little bit, but like the timeline of signing some of these young guys like a Hudson, you see Guhle's still only making $863 this year. That's going up to $5.5 next year. Hudson, he's going to sign an extension, could be after this year. Again, that won't kick in until the year after. But I'm looking at Anderson and Gallagher, Jesse. That's some money that's going to have to go somewhere. Heinemann's not going to be making a ton of money, but we don't know the goalie situation as well. Don't forget, like Monty still has some time, but like some money's going to have to go. Don't know where. I mean, obviously Price is going to be gone, whatever, and you're going to have to sign Laine, and I don't know. It is a little worrisome when you look at this, but I have full faith that Kent Hughes will cook something up and make it work, you know?
For sure, but that kind of brings up like this Evans contract. As much as we want to extend him, the numbers are going to need to work. Because when you look at guys like Hudson, Demidov, like they're going to be wanting a lot of money. You know, a Laine re-signing if everything kind of goes well. That's a lot of money, you know, on top of the core that we already have in Cole, in Slaf, in Guhle, in Suzuki, right? So it's like, obviously not everybody can just, you know, get a contract here. This isn't the Oprah Winfrey show. Like Kent Hughes is going to need to be specific on who's getting the money, who's really getting paid out here. The big part about this though, that is beautiful, is as we're getting into our contention window, we're going to have a bunch of ELCs. We're going to have a bunch of young contracts on the book, which you really need to help you win. And it's looking like some solid players that are going to be looking like they're going to perform. Alec Kapanen, Beck, you know, Mayu, Reinbacher, players that could be playing very well for the Habs at the same time, not getting paid a whole lot. I'm talking about like great performance like Evans is having, only getting paid $1.7 million. Like that's what the Habs are really going to need to have to balance as they're really getting into that contention window.
And like I do see people are talking about the cap going up as well. That's very true, but like, you know, money still has to go somewhere. Like even once Price's contract is gone, that's $10.5 million. Just looking at what Slaf and Guhle will make, that more than offsets Price's contract. So like your off-season flexibility isn't changed a whole lot. But anyway, there's still a lot of stuff Montreal's going to be able to do, especially having a guy like Carrier locked down at that sub $4 million contract, and Guhle, who's going to be sub $6 million. Those are going to look like bargains. And whatever Hudson extends for, hopefully we can get him in under Suzuki as well. Again, a $7.75 million deal. So right now things are looking good, but yeah, very, very much true that there's going to be a lot of ELCs. I want to go back to the chat as well. Just want to pop this back up. There was a lot of great chats, and there are a lot of people saying thank you to Ethan. We got Derek saying Ranton in all caps. Again, Ranton's going to be a figure that's going to be crazy high. We got Jerry, who's very optimistic that Lane Hudson's going to sign an 8-year, $3 million deal. That would be really nice. Derek saying, I'd give Ranton $66 million, 6 years at $11 million. So I hate to say it, Derek, that's going to get outbid. And almost certainly by Colorado and probably by other teams as well. Montreal could offer it. I don't think it'd work, right? That's the problem. But yeah, Simon, you do make a good point with the cap going up. Yeah, there's a lot of people questioning a lot of these things. But you know what, Jesse? You know what we don't have to question? And thank you again, Ethan, for that great point, that $20 donation. Unbelievable. We don't have to question Ivan Demidov's talent, because this is the big thing that we wanted to talk about today. And before we get into Demidov, I see we're like, look, I ask for this sometimes. We're 7 likes away from 100, 6 likes away from 100. We got 400 of you in here. If you wouldn't mind just hitting the like button, it really helps us out a lot, especially in this day and age. I don't know if you guys saw, but a lot of your favorite NHL content creators got hit by the NHL today. A lot of copyright claims going out. Channels like Hockey Junkie, Hockey Psychology, wishing the best for those channels. Not sure what the future looks like for them, but if you go to their channels, leave them love and support as well. Likes, subscriptions, everything you can. This is the time to be supportive of the hockey community, especially if the NHL starts to crack down. So go leave your favorite supporters or your favorite creators some support right now. Just saying that. I'm not going to get too deep into the situation that's going on. We don't necessarily agree with it, but we don't want the NHL to say anything about us. So that's why we haven't been using very many clips recently. But you know what they can't do something about? They can't do anything about a KHL clip. I sure hope not. Oh my gosh, Jesse. This goal here. Everyone, look at this. Like, this is insane. Like, he has 14 goals now. He's top 5 for seasons all time by a teenager in the KHL. This dude has also played, half of his games playing under 12 minutes or something like that. That's absolutely, that's an insane snipe. It reminds me of that crazy Malkin snipe that one time. Now, Malkin's was a little crazier than this. Maybe. I don't know. Demidov just does this. Look, hold on. I wish I could pause that. Just look, though. There's 4 players around him. He's alone, and he snipes it backhand, short side. Jesse, how crazy. Actually, I think I might be able to actually play this. Can I play this? Oh, yes, I can. Unreal stuff right now from Ivan Demidov, and we talked a lot about prospects today. We even talked a little bit about how Demidov could even look to be a center in the future, but I don't know. Every day this dude's a highlight reel machine. I don't know what's left to say, except I cannot wait, and that's why the poll's up there in the chat, for points in his rookie season, because this is beyond impressive.
Yeah, 61 points plus.
Yep.
KHL goalies are just counting down the days until Ivan Demidov is in North America, because he's just making goalies look foolish right now. Like, this is a goalie. This is the type of goal you stay up at late at night and just hurts you so much. Prior to this play, though, I think it's important to highlight is that Ivan Demidov on the forecheck. Again, this is a 200-foot player. He's wreaking havoc all over the ice. And we've seen this a couple times where he's on the forecheck, and his visions is so good where he just says to the defender, like, no, I know where you're going. You're not going there. I'm just going to plant myself right there. They cough up the puck, and then he just scores a beautiful goal again. And again, important to highlight on this goal, when he's going for the backhand here, he knows exactly where he's putting this. He already has it mapped out, and the accuracy to be able to make that happen, short side, you're barely getting a look at the net on that backhand before he's letting it rip there. Basically like a blind shot to the back of the net. Like, this is just absolutely wild. Again, showing the 200-foot player that he is right now, and his domination is just continuing.
Yeah, it's insane, right? And that's a great point, too, on the 200-foot game. It's something we don't see in this clip, and it's a lot of the things that we don't see in highlight packages of Demidov, right, when we watch it. And, I have a hard time sometimes watching full KHL games. But you do notice it. Like, the dude he doesn't shy away from being physical. Like, he's not like he's laying the body every single second, but he doesn't shy away from physicality is maybe a better word to use, right? Even though he's, 5'11", and he's still a teenager, he's doing kind of what we see Lane Hutson do at times. He knows how to leverage his body. He'll still have a learning curve, I'm sure, when he gets to the NHL, but his edge work and his skating is phenomenal, even if his skating posture is wacky. But his shot is insane, right? His ability to move on his feet, quick change of direction is insane. I can't stop watching this. Like, there's a reason this, like, you see my eyes over here, like over there, because I'm just watching this over and over. But yeah, like, that's why the poll's up, and if you guys haven't voted in the poll, do it now. Jesse, I'm having a hard time seeing a reason why Demidov can't go out and get at least 50 points in his rookie season. The dude is one of the best players in the KHL. Like, I know there's a lot of really good players over there, but relative to age, he is the best player in the KHL right now. And, there's a lot of really good guys over there. Like, even Nikishin on his own team is going to have a great NHL career, I'm sure, with the Hurricanes and whoever else he ends up on. But, my gosh, like, I want to see what the chat finally says. I'm going to end this poll just to see. I'm going to read out the results to you, Jesse. And, if YouTube loads, come on, there we go. So only 14% of the people said he's going to get 40 points or fewer. Love that. 24% said 61 points plus. 29% said 41 to 50. 31% said 51 to 60. So what that's telling me is that 55% of people think Demidov is going to get over 50 points in his rookie season. And I don't think the praise can get any higher than that, but it's for a good reason, because this guy's doing stuff we haven't seen a Habs prospect do, I feel like, in my lifetime. I don't know if I'm crazy saying that, but I don't think I am. I think that's what we're seeing from him might be the best by any Habs prospect in my lifetime, or at least in my time watching hockey.
I think that he'll come into the Habs and within short order be our best offensive player, even above a Nick Suzuki, above a Cole Caufield, a Patrick Laine, Lane Hutson. Like, it's not going to take long for Ivan Demidov to really kind of assert himself as the best overall player on the Montreal, and that's huge praise. We love Nick Suzuki. We love Lane Hudson. Even Patrick Laine as well. Like, of course, we have a lot of admiration for these players, but what just Ivan Demidov is doing, the reason why I think he's going to get over 60 points in his first, season in the NHL is obviously this team will be a lot better. He's, if Slav on a very much rebuilding team can get 50 points on a strong, kind of second half. I think Demidov come in with a full season, a stronger team, better lineups, a little bit of a higher kind of pedigree just naturally, I think, just coming in. This guy is penciled. I think he's going to be close to a point per game type of player. I could see anywhere from kind of 63 to 70 points in that first season. Not a problem. From there, after that first season, all bets are off. Point per game plus from there, and then the dominance just kind of continues, becoming that 100 plus type player that we really expect. So again, we've been starved for offense for that long time, right? But Ivan Demidov is exactly what we needed. We got the player, the profile. I think that perfectly fits. Maybe if he played center, it's still to be figured out if that's the exact situation. But again, we've been celebrating it every day since the draft. The fact that we've got Ivan Demidov, it's not lost on us just what a tremendous talent he is. How we already have such exciting players like Cole Hudson, Lane Hudson, how we have Cole Caufield, right? How we have Lane Hudson and Patrick, like exciting players. You then throw a Demidov into this mix. Like, we just can't wait to watch hockey. We know that Montreal is going to become a wagon really soon for a lot of people because they're going to want to see this amazing team and all of its exciting players together on that ice.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I mean, if people saying Celine Dion will see Ivan Deminov's first NHL game, that'd be incredible, right? Like, there's so much to love about this right now. I can't believe what I'm seeing. There's so much talent, and I think like I was saying before the stream to you, Jesse, like, look, okay, I do think his point production obviously depends on who he shares a line with, right? Like, is he going to just jump on that first line right away? No, he's going to have to earn his way there. Like, but you also judge based off training camp and whatever happens. We see in the KHL, he's a first line talent. It just took them forever to actually give him first line minutes. And when they did, he went on a 6-7 game goal streak. Like, this is the thing. Yeah. This guy just consistently gets better and better and better and improves, and his dedication and his drive and his discipline is unbelievable right now by all accounts in the KHL. So he's one of those guys that no matter who you put him with, he'll create opportunities on the ice, and then he will prove that he's worth something higher in the lineup. So, even if he's on the third line to start, I think he'll create enough opportunities to get some points. But here's my final thought on this, Jesse. As I mentioned before the stream, if he comes in and he slots in on that first power play right away, do you really mean to tell me that over the course of an 82-game season, Demidov can't get at least, let's say, 15 to 20 power play points alone by playing on a power play with Laine, Caufield, Hudson, and Suzuki by his side? I think 15 to 20 points is very reasonable for that power play on its own, especially if Demidov's doing a lot of the passing, and then you just need some 5v5 points other than that, and I think you might be golden.
Just like Michael Hage, Ivan Demidov is so good on the power play. The fact that we got players that are almost specialists in this regard while still being good otherwise, like throwing a Patrick Laine, how effective it is. Like, the way that Patrick Laine is playing right now, you just put anybody with them and they're going to be getting points on the regular right now. We're honored by your presence here with us. Continue your fine work, sir. It's just like right now, it's just a point-making machine right now from this guy. You expect, like Lane Hudson's just going to get better on the power play. Elsewise, and I think that all of this is going to have really a culminative effect. It's coming together.
Oh yeah.
The Line A train.
Oh yeah. The lane and line. I don't even know. This is. We'll put it on you for a second. This is so ridiculous. I love this. Oh, the chat's loving it too. Yeah. Unbelievable stuff. I can't wait, Jesse. We got one more super chat that we got to talk about as well. Again from Ethan Mods. Ethan, you've been so generous today. Thank you so much for the $20 donation. Again, I see the chatters. Ryan Play saying thank you. Again, thank you, Daddy's what Ryan Play said. Well, I'm not gonna call you that, Ethan, but you got some fans in the chat to say the least. Who do you think will make the team next year, Jesse, between Owen Beck, Joshua Roy, Oliver Kapanen? I would like to see Logan Mailloux come up next year as well. If Savard gets traded, NHL would give him some good experience. I think Mailloux is that guy, like right-hand shot defenseman. Like, he's going to get an opportunity if Savard's gone and they don't make an immediate move in the offseason. But Jesse, between Beck, Roy, or Kapanen, it's hard, like, especially with, like, if I could just bring the lineup back up. We'll finish the stream just a bit after this. Armia is expiring. Evans is expiring. Dvorak is expiring. And so those are three guys gone, right? You'll probably have Evans back, though. So let's assume Evans is back. you're losing at least Dvorak and Armia. And Pizzetta is also a UFA, so that 13th forward's gone. So you're going to need to fill in your forward spots. You probably have at least 3 spots to fill, including 1 center spot. You don't have to fill it as a center spot, but you probably will, considering you have Kapanen and Beck waiting in the wings. If you just had to pick one of them, though, or maybe even 2 of them between Beck, Waugh, and Kapanen, to me, that's a really tough decision. I think out of camp, I don't want any of them being the 13th forward. If any of them, I think Joshua was maybe best suited to be a 13th forward that you can kind of deploy anywhere, but I still don't want that. The dude's the leading scorer in the AHL. I think of those 3, Kapanen and Waugh are my top 2 in terms of depth chart for the Habs. And I think that if it's between Kapanen and Beck, I think Kapanen's, just like you said earlier, just a bit above Beck in terms of the center pecking order right now. The dude's almost a point per game in the SHL. Like, he's their first line player. He's on the power play, he's on the PK. Like, you know, it is what it is. And I don't see them taking up 2 centers if they don't plan to use them both as centers. So as crazy as it is to say, it wouldn't shock me if Beck was the odd man out there. But I also feel bad saying that. But I think that's also a good problem to have that I can't decide.
Absolutely is. I'm going to have to go with Joshua Waugh.
Yeah.
Just because there's a pecking order of it in terms of kind of age, and where, you know, kind of Beck and Kapanen can kind of gets a little bit more seasoning at the HL, where Waugh, you know, is a little bit more older in his progression right now. We know, just generally speaking, it kind of goes, players have kind of certain time frames, and they really want to maximize players' potentials just through certain time frames there. But there is very much a way that all 3 of these players are making the NHL next year, which is absolutely so wild to say. Yeah. And maybe there is a benefit of keeping, you know, one of those 2 centers, Kapanen and Beck, in Laval. But the way that both of them are playing right now, it's hard really to make an argument like that either of them deserve. Like Beck, for me, this guy is an NHLer. The way that he plays, he's just so consistent. You know, the defensive game is so good, but then you're going to show that type of production along with it. Like, that's the makings of a very good NHLer for a long period of time. So for me, you put Beck, he's going to look like he belongs. It's just about, like, if he's going to be able to play in the NHL, it's just a question when's going to be the best time, you know, for his development to really kind of put him in. But I mean, you could put him in tomorrow, and this guy's not going to look out of place. He's just really that smart. I'm going to go with Joshua Waugh again because he's having a phenomenal season, and we can't take this for granted. He could have went down, he could have pouted, everything else. This guy's producing unreal numbers. He's being a goal scorer, which this team continues to need more of still. Mm-hmm. We definitely still need more of it. So he's kind of filling a very key role. But we see with that center position, with Dvorak being gone, we still don't know with Evans. That's going to kind of change. If Evans is gone, then all 3 of these are making this team for sure. Long story short, though, first person to make this team, I think, on that depth chart right now, Joshua Waugh, mainly due to his age and also his amazing production this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's very fair, honestly, because, I mean, he's already been in the NHL more than the other guys, right? Like, so there's a lot to that, and you know, it's so tough, right? Like, and I love it being tough. I also mentioned, I said Maillou's probably the guy to replace Savard next season on the right D. Well, I do see Simon saying Reinbacher. I don't see Reinbacher making the team out of camp next year. That's the only reason I have Mailloux ahead of him for now. I think long term it still is Reinbacher. I think Mailloux has some issues, or even Engstrom if he wants to go to the right side. I still think Reinbacher's the guy of all those guys. Though, Jesse, we did kind of forget someone. And another super chat from Ethan. Ethan, my goodness, thank you so much for the $10 again. Unbelievable. He said, don't forget for a center as well, if you have Demidov slotted on the second line with Laine and Dach, then Newhook would go down to the 3rd or 4th with Evans on the 3rd or 4th. And Ryan is being very thankful in the chat to Ethan as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's actually a great point, Jesse. And I kind of glossed over that because, like, Demidov is filling one of those spots straight up. So you might only have 1 spot. So honestly, like, if you play Demidov at center, I think Waugh makes sense. If you play Demidov at the wing, I don't know. Like, maybe you move Newhook to center, right? And I saw a line in chat there by Chelene Laframboise saying Heineman, Newhook, Waugh. That's not crazy either. You put Newhook back at center and, like, that 3rd line, right? Maybe 4th if Evans ends up being the 3rd. I don't know. That'd be a cracked out 4th line. Heineman, Newhook, Waugh. So, you know, anyway, it's kind of crazy there. Yeah, I kind of skipped over Demidov here, Jesse. But yeah, we might only get a chance to see one of these guys, and I don't know what you do with it. Can Oliver Kapanen go to the AHL next year? I don't even know if so, but yeah, I mean, Kent's gonna have some decisions to make, and again, I think this also maybe just points to the fact he might have to cook up maybe a move or something as well to clear up more roster space. I don't even know.
That's definitely, like, we're having some quality players, and those spots are starting to get contentious, which is what we've wanted for really a long time. I would say still Kirby Dach is a big factor of that on the second line. I think that once you get a vision for him of where his future is, that helps to shape the rest of this team. I think you're actually waiting on that. You're waiting for the rest of the season to see how that shapes out, to see how it pans out. Alex Newhook, once he gets on that third line, is going to be so good, though. I've just been waiting for him to get that opportunity there because I think he's just going to break out. He's a good player. It's just on, kind of a little bit more of a competitive team. He's playing that 3C role, and that's really where he's eating. It's just right now, I think he's getting some tough matchups. But again, this is just going to have a huge trickle-down effect. And Alex Newhook's a good player. He's going to get those points, just needs to be in the right chair.
The better players you have playing lower down in the lineup, the worse competition they're going to play against, the better chances they get. It's just math, Jesse, and that's absolutely right. And I think he can really make an impact for this team. I know people aren't in love with Newhook this season. I mean, his production hasn't been amazing. I mean, let's be fair. However, my boy from St. John's, I mean, we got to show him the love here on the channel, right? So really excited to see what happens there. I want to get to a few more chats before we head in the stream. This one already went longer than I thought, but when you guys donate like that and you support us like that, can't help but keep going. Thank you so much. RPM saying, I like the Slav wrote in his blog, the Hudson and him should have been drafted in each other's spot. Did he say that exactly? I don't know, but I know he was giving a ton of praise to Hudson regardless, which was amazing. Mark Orr saying, I may be wrong, but watching Savard's face, body language, etc., he's 34 and has a cup ring. I think he will retire this year and take a mentor role like Paul Byron, so I don't think they can trade. I'm not opposed. I mean, I would love that if that ends up being kind of this Habs MO, Jesse, if the vet's kind of sticking around, giving mentorship roles. I think it's hard for me to say whether or not Savard will retire. I know, Mark, he does seem tired. He does seem injured a decent bit. Like, there is some stuff going on, but, like, if he's still got gas in the tank, I'd say, you can ship him to a contender, but there's nothing saying they can't trade him at the deadline and bring him back, too, in the offseason, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Probably rare that one would happen, but I think Savard's still got a little bit of hockey. I think we've all seen in the past, we kind of know when a defenseman's done. A couple of us probably seen the Dion Phaneuf era. It's when we know, okay, this player's done, pack it in, right? Yeah. Because people are just coasting by you. David Savard's not there yet. He can still play. He's still very effective, and that's why he's going to be getting a first-round pick for his services come the trade deadline or even before then for what he really does. But I would absolutely love that, even if he ends up playing a year or two more and then coming back to the org, which I could definitely see as a player development role, would be phenomenal. We already know how he rallies the troops, from all of his shot blocks. He's just such a leader in that group, or he's inspired such admiration from his teammates for the way that he plays the game. What better guy to really motivate your young decor and to show them to play the game the right way? I know we're kind of in that new era of NHL defensemen where there's such a focus on offense and skating and everything, but I think you still need that balance of having that Savard, that old school hockey sometimes, protecting the front of the net, blocking shots, a little bit more of a stay-at-home guy. I think there's still a lot to be said about that blue-collar type of hockey that he plays as well. So obviously I think great comment, Mark, I think that he would be an amazing, amazing addition to player development.
And continuing Montreal, the trend of just for some reason continuing to hire people who won Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning in high up roles in the organization with Saint Louis with the Cavalier and then eventually David Savard. Who knows? It'd be crazy. But yeah, we got Blanco, a chat here. We can pull off a Vegas injury move and bring Savard into playoffs. Look, I think after this year, he's not going to be making enough money for that to be worth the while. But hey, who knows this year, right? That could happen. RPM saying not exactly. He did say Hudson could have gone first and joked about him going later. That is what I saw. So you're absolutely right. But yeah, Jesse, I think that's going to have to do it. This went a little longer than we thought, guys. If you have any last thoughts, send them in chat. And I just want to say, too, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, if you're watching this, you're one of the 400 people watching. Statistically, half of you watching, that's 200 of you haven't subscribed. If you subscribe, you can chat in here in the chat with all these wonderful people, and it helps us out more than you could ever know. You get kept up to date on all the latest things Habs. Jesse, what a Monday stream. I'm glad to be back on these, and we plan to keep them going for a while, eh? This is going to be a fun second half to the season.
Back in the saddle, some big games this week we're getting ready for. The Habs are being so consistent right now, so it's just about kind of building on. But because they're so consistent, they're giving us faith and they're giving us hope that they're building a solid structure that can really kind of take us somewhere. We're figuring out there's kind of those road bumps, but now we're kind of finally starting to see, that this team, this future, is kind of coming into picture, and it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really excited. We got some final channel member chats here. We got Tanks as always, boys, says Joseph. We got Simone saying 4-0 this week. Let's go. We kind of didn't talk about the Utah game that's coming tomorrow. Really hoping. I don't know I saw people complaining about this, Jesse. Who decided Montreal flies in? They fly in on the second night of a back-to-back to Denver, Colorado, and then they come back to Montreal, then they go to Washington, then back to Montreal, then back to Utah. Montreal travels like 1,000 kilometers more than Ottawa this season, and they're geographically the two of the closest cities in the NHL, so pretty crazy. Oh, we do have one last... Jason Patrick also saying, just got off work, came here to freak out over the Demidov goal, as I'm sure we already did. Just for you, Jason, just so you can watch this in its glory one final time before we sign off here. It has been amazing. And Jesse, we do have one other super chat, again from Ethan. Ethan, thank you so much for today. You are unbelievable. Thank you for being such a great fan. And the game's coming this week. What do you think will be the goalie rotation? Hard to say. I'm saying 2 Monty, 2 Dobesh. I don't know which games are which, Jesse. Got any thoughts?
Rotating. They deserve it. And this might be a sign of in the future as well. If Dobesh, we're hearing those rumors already in Montreal that it could be a 50-50 type split as soon as next season. If Dobesh keeps up, scratch next season later on for the rest of this year going down the stretch. So I see them going one in, one out, kind of alternating each night here.
Yeah, I think so. Because we got Utah tomorrow, and then we got Dallas again on Thursday, and then we got the Leafs at home on Saturday. Oh, wouldn't it be cool to give Dobesh Mr. Saturday night just to add to this cold-blooded killer that he is already? That would be so cool. But I bet you it'll be Monty versus the Leafs Saturday, and then probably Dobesh on that back-to-back versus the Rangers on Sunday. So a lot of good stuff coming, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Blanco, for the final things. Blanco saying Dobesh against Utah. Monty deserves the help, says Joseph. It's been a great stream, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's been unbelievable. We got weekly live streams, daily Habs videos. You guys know the drill. We're here every single day for you. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you on the next one.